fresh wave of Iranian missile and drone attacks has struck several Gulf nations, dramatically escalating tensions across the Middle East and raising fears that the ongoing conflict could expand into a broader regional war. The latest attacks came as the war entered its 13th day on March 12, with Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates, all close allies of the United States, reporting aerial threats targeting strategic locations and civilian areas. Regional officials said most of the incoming drones and missiles were intercepted by air defense systems. However, falling debris and several successful strikes still caused injuries and damage in multiple cities, underscoring the growing danger of the conflict spreading across the Gulf. In Saudi Arabia, the defense ministry confirmed that air defenses intercepted hostile drones approaching key locations in the capital, Riyadh. One drone was heading toward the diplomatic quarter, an area housing embassies and residences of foreign diplomats. Another set of drones was reportedly targeting the strategic Sheba oil field, one of Saudi Arabia's major energy hubs and a high-value target for any hostile force seeking to disrupt global energy supplies. Saudi officials said the drones were shot down before reaching their intended targets, preventing major damage. Saudi Arabia's energy infrastructure has already been under threat since the conflict began. Earlier in the war, drones targeted major oil facilities, highlighting the vulnerability of the Gulf's energy network and triggering concern in global markets. Further north, Kuwait also experienced a wave of incoming drones early on the morning of March 12. According to Kuwait's defense ministry, several hostile drones entered the country's northern airspace at dawn. Air defense units quickly intercepted the drones before they could strike their intended targets. However, one drone reportedly struck a residential building in southern Kuwait, injuring at least 2 people. Emergency responders rushed to the site while security forces secured the surrounding area. The incident heightened concerns in Kuwait because of the presence of major American military facilities in the country. Kuwait's Ali Al Salem Air Base hosts the United States Air Force's 386th Air Expeditionary Wing, as well as units of the United States Marine Corps. The base serves as a crucial hub for U.S. operations in the region. Iran has launched dozens of strikes against Kuwait since the beginning of the conflict in late February. Kuwaiti officials say their defenses have intercepted dozens of missiles and hundreds of drones during the ongoing campaign. Bahrain also found itself under attack during the latest wave of strikes. The island nation hosts the headquarters of the United States Navy's 5th Fleet, making it a strategically important location for American naval operations in the Gulf. Authorities reported that an Iranian attack struck fuel storage tanks in Muharraq Governorate, triggering a large fire that sent thick smoke into the sky. Residents in nearby areas were urged to remain indoors as firefighters worked to control the blaze and prevent further damage. The strike on Bahrain reflects a broader pattern of attacks targeting both military and energy infrastructure across the Gulf. Bahrain has intercepted dozens of missiles and drones since the conflict began, although several strikes have still caused injuries and damage to civilian and military facilities. Amid the security crisis, Bahraini authorities also announced the arrest of 4 citizens accused of conducting espionage activities on behalf of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, known as the Irgak. According to the country's Interior Ministry, investigators determined that one of the suspects used high-resolution photography equipment to capture images and coordinates of important and sensitive locations across Bahrain. Officials said the information was transmitted using encrypted software to Iranian intelligence handlers linked to the Irgak. Authorities described the operation as a coordinated espionage network designed to gather intelligence on strategic infrastructure and potential military targets. Another major target during the latest attacks was the United Arab Emirates. The UAE's air defense systems responded to a barrage of incoming Iranian missiles and drones, with residents across several cities reporting loud explosions as interceptors engaged incoming threats. Officials later confirmed the explosions were the result of air defense systems destroying incoming missiles and drones. Despite the successful interceptions, at least one drone struck a residential building in Dubai, sparking a fire that emergency crews later managed to bring under control. The UAE has been among the most heavily targeted countries since the conflict began. Defense authorities say hundreds of Iranian drones and ballistic missiles have been detected in Emirati airspace during the war. Most were intercepted before they could cause damage, but the sheer volume of attacks has stretched regional defense systems. The situation became particularly alarming when 2 suspected Iranian drones fell near Dubai International Airport. Officials confirmed that the drones crashed in the vicinity of the airport, injuring 4 people. According to authorities, 2 Ghanaian nationals and 1 Bangladeshi national suffered minor injuries, while 1 Indian national was reported to have moderate injuries. Emergency teams quickly responded and secured the area. Despite the incident, airport authorities said flight operations continued normally. The drone crash near one of the world's busiest aviation hubs highlighted how the conflict is increasingly threatening civilian infrastructure across the Gulf. Earlier in the war, Dubai International Airport briefly suspended flight operations after another suspected Iranian drone attack triggered security concerns. The latest strikes occurred shortly after Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian issued a public apology to neighboring countries that have been affected by Iranian attacks. Speaking in a televised address, he acknowledged the impact of the strikes on neighboring states while defending Iran's actions as part of its wartime response to American and Israeli attacks on Iranian territory. Masoud Pezeshkian said, "I must apologize to the neighboring countries that were attacked by Iran." He explained that Iranian military units had acted following major attacks on Iran's leadership and military infrastructure. Masoud Pezeshkian said, "Our commanders, our leader, our loved ones lost their lives due to brutal aggression, and our armed forces defended our territorial integrity." He also indicated that Iran's leadership had made a decision to limit future attacks on neighboring states. Masoud Pezeshkian said, "Our armed forces must not engage in any attacks against neighboring countries or launch any missiles unless those countries initiate aggression against us." However, the continuation of attacks across the Gulf has raised questions about whether Iran's political leadership has full control over all military forces involved in the conflict. Some reports suggest internal disagreements between Iran's political leadership and the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which controls much of the country's missile and drone arsenal. Meanwhile, the broader conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel continues to intensify. American and Israeli airstrikes have targeted multiple Iranian military facilities and infrastructure sites in recent days, prompting Tehran to retaliate against U.S. allies across the region. The conflict has also spread to maritime routes in the Persian Gulf, where several commercial vessels have been attacked in recent days. The attacks on shipping and energy infrastructure have already begun affecting global markets. Oil prices surged sharply as traders reacted to the escalating conflict and the possibility of disruptions to supply routes through the Strait of Hormuz, a strategic waterway through which roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes. The International Energy Agency warned that the conflict could trigger one of the largest disruptions to global oil supply in modern history if attacks continue to threaten shipping lanes and energy infrastructure. As tensions escalated, the United Nations Security Council stepped in to address the crisis. On March 11th, the Council adopted Resolution 2817, condemning Iran's attacks on neighboring Gulf states and urging an immediate halt to hostilities. The resolution described the strikes as egregious attacks and called for de-escalation across the region. Despite the diplomatic pressure, missile and drone strikes have continued across the Middle East, highlighting the fragile and volatile situation. Across the Gulf, governments remain on high alert as air defense systems continue to intercept incoming threats. Residents in cities like Riyadh, Kuwait City, Manama, and Dubai have become increasingly accustomed to the sounds of air defense interceptors and emergency alerts. For civilians across the region, the conflict has turned everyday life into a tense waiting game, with the next missile alert or drone strike potentially only moments away. The war now threatens to reshape the security landscape of the Middle East. With multiple regional powers involved, critical energy infrastructure under threat, and global markets already reacting, the stakes of the conflict continue to rise. For now, Gulf nations remain on edge as the confrontation between Iran and its adversaries continues to unfold, with no clear end in sight.